What's happening, guys? Saturday, rolling around 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It's all together. I was doing video throughout the day, and once again, this is a brand new SD card, and all the video that I did, it's lost. It's gone. So we'll just start the day's journey. I took the pinion, bearing, and shim to the chicken farm. Used this press. I actually pressed the pinion down into the bearing. I had a nice little setup with these aluminum blocks that he had over there, and it fit nice. Pushed the bearing on, got that seated, bottomed out on its shoulder with the shim. Brought it home, started to assemble the pinion into the diff. Pre-lubed all the bearings. All the bearings are pre-lubed. Put the front bearing in. I popped the seal in. I had the yoke that I bought. They supplied a seal, and it didn't end up working right. I didn't like it. What happened was, this is the one right here, and the neoprene was so soft that it just slipped right on, and it didn't seem like it was making a good seal, and I didn't want a problem with this leaking later on. So Motive Gear, they had supplied 2 seals, and they supplied one like this, and they supplied another one that actually doesn't have the little shoulder, the little stop. It's just all smooth. And that was what I pulled out of the rear end initially, so I used that style. And as you can see, this neoprene is a lot more rigid. This one is just really loose and not good, so I didn't go with this one. These are all my checker bearings. These are all the races. This is everything compound for when I go to rebuild this rear end. Now I have everything all set up for the 8.5. We essentially put the pinion in. I set it up. Pinion on. I already had the sleeve in. The front bearing went in, and I put the seal in. I used black RTV around the seal housing. Drove it in with my seal driver. Put the yoke on. I lubed the shoulder of the yoke, and I lubed a little bit of oil on the seal, so it wasn't a dry fit. I don't want to tear it. Pushed it on to the spline. I started to use the nut that I wanted to use, and I had to pull it off because I didn't have a socket that was thin enough to go inside between the thickness of the nut and the tolerance inside this yoke. So I ended up using the nut that I said I wasn't going to use. I ended up using it because I had to. You see the red Loctite on the thread. I got that set. I started to use my pinion holding wrench, which worked out absolutely stellar. It was awesome. My neighbor was commenting on how well it worked because he had done a Camaro way back when, and he didn't have something like this. They were just essentially, I don't know what the hell they used. I think they used a pipe wrench with a sleeve on it, so he wouldn't mar up the yoke. But what I did was I took the rear end, I loaded it down on those wooden blocks, these wooden blocks right here, and then I laid this pinion wrench across to the block so that this was sitting at the same level of the block. Then I had a 3/4 inch breaker bar, and I got a 4-foot piece of pipe. It started to go okay. I think I was actually just sucking the pinion through the front bearing, and then it stopped, and then I knew I hit the crush sleeve. I knew it. So then I had my neighbor. He was sitting down on the top of this housing, and that's when all this grunting and the sweating and the swearing started. And so I started to take all the slop out of the pinion, all the end play. So I was just going a quarter turn at a time, till I finally got all the end play out of it, so it wasn't moving back and forth and side to side. And then I just slowly started taking a quarter turn out, pull the wrench off, and then I had an inch-pound dial style that I borrowed off of my cousin because I like that style better than the beam style. So we used this, and I ended up getting 18-inch pounds. And the spec on that rear end with new gears is, let me see, it's 14 to 19, and I'm at 18. So, and my backlash was 6 to 10 thousandths. I ended up with 7, so I'm well in the parameters of what they spec on the new gear. We got the 65 foot-pounds on the the gear bolts, the ring bolts, and I got 60 on the cap bolts. So that's all set. Carrier went in just the same way it went in yesterday with the shims. Everything worked out fine. So I think everything is done. It's fine. It feels good. You know, it's together. Too bad I didn't. This camera, I don't know what the hell it's doing to my SD card. Maybe when I pull it out, I don't know what the hell happened. I lost all the footage. But it is what it is. So the caps are oriented right. Everything's right. So you got the double stamping here, and I got the double stamping on the housing. For now, I'm going to throw the regular diff cover on here, but I am going to get the trick flow that have the studs that go through the cover, and I essentially put a preload on these. I think Terry mentioned it too, but yeah, that's what I'm going with because my cousin has one on his Trans Am, and he says they work good. And I think he put one on Jeremy's Trans Am on the rebuild that he did, and he used that same trick flow cover. I like it too. It's a nice looking aluminum. It's going to look nice under here. So now I have to clean all this stuff up. We got to put the studs on the axles, paint the backing plates, which are all set and ready to go. They're all cleaned up, nice. They were in the phosphoric bath for quite some time, and I mean, you ain't gonna get any cleaner than that. So we're gonna throw some etch on this, and we're gonna paint them up. I'm gonna get some grade 8 bolts for the bolts that we had. Broke them all trying to pull them off the old one. So I gotta get some grade 8 bolts for that. Then we'll put the axles back in. We'll set the C-clips. Put the center shaft. I gotta pull that out in order to do this. We'll pull the center shaft out. Get the C-clips. Pull them back. You know, the whole routine. And then this thing will be all painted. Pull this one out. Put this one in its place. And then maybe the one that's in this one is gonna go in here, because this rear end has some really bad history and some suspect problems with it. The guy that owned the car before me, he's the one that said he and his cousin, like this car was a drag car, and I don't know what they did. They changed the rear end or something, and they welded their own perches on. But I have to have like a 3/4 inch. This whole rear end is shifted this way. I had almost a 3/4 inch plate on this side to get the tire to go out because it was rubbing up against the leaf spring. So we're going to redo this rear end too and get that over. And there's some issues with Bertha now. I mean, she's got some short somewhere. I turn on the right directional and the headlights flash, so I got something that's shorted out. I'm going to go through all the bulbs first and check all the harnesses, and we're going to try the process of elimination and work our way back to either the fuse panel or somewhere within the column or somewhere on the printed circuit. I might be having an issue with the printed circuit, you know, the directional going on, it might be back feeding into the lights. So we got some electrical issues with this. Her wiper motor is not working. It was 10 years ago. I never take the car out in the rain, so I've never used the wipers on it. So I don't know if the motor froze up over the course of time. We're going to throw a new wiper motor in her. We're going to fix the hood. We got a fiberglass hood in the back that originally went on this car. It had a lower cowl that used to hit the windshield and the wipers. So I went with this bigger cowl on a steel hood, but that's a fiberglass cowl, and it all delammed and it's all peeled and popped, and it's just getting worse and worse as we go. So we're going to throw the original fiberglass hood back on this car. We're going to go out and get a 4-inch cowl for it. We're going to graft it on. So that's a side project for this one. And waiting for the title still to come in the mail. I've got the insurance company Haggerty. They sent me a quote. They say when you get the title, just let them know, and then they are going to send me paperwork so I can bring it to the state. You have to have confirmation of insurance on a vehicle before you can register it. You can't just register it and say I'm going to insure it later. It has to be insured first, and then it goes from there. So like I say, this has got a little bit more stuff. I'm still waiting for that title. I want that title physically in my hand before I go any further with this. And but the ducks are in a row here, and hopefully this won't take up too much time doing this swap. I'm going to repaint the leaf springs too, since I have them all out, and the perch pockets and all that stuff. We're going to repaint. We're going to give it all a nice fresh coat of glossy black. And that's it. So we got 9 minutes of me yammering away. Pinion wrench worked pissa. Didn't even bend the deflect. It was, I don't know, man. My neighbor was, he actually really liked it. He said you should patent it, but I don't think you should patent something like this. But you can make something like this, and it does make your life a lot easier. So this is Mark from the second gen. Unfortunately, I don't have video to show you, but it is together, and it went together fine. And I'm well within spec on all parameters, so I think we're good. Well, be safe. Guys, have a nice, safe week, and we will see you on the next one. Peace.